Consistent self-improvement, everybody. You're now listening to American gypC podcast. I am your host, Classic, and I am here with my co-host,
gypC. And today we have Mark V. Smith. He is a speaker and host of a podcast series called The Process, which takes the time to understand how we view life. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me on this beautiful, blustery day here in the DC region. I appreciate it.
We appreciate having you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Let's start off a little bit, where you from and what it's like growing up where you're at.
Man, I'm born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. So OHIO, diehard Buckeye. Growing up, man, it was a challenge, like all areas in almost everybody's life. You had your peaks and valleys. I was an athlete, and from the time I was, I guess, born, I always ran around the house. Started playing Little League football, man, at an early age. Was blessed to be played at a phenomenal high school and played at the collegiate level as well. But one of the things about Ohio or Columbus at that particular time, and I'm not going to tell my age because you'll hear me say, as not the older I get, the wiser I get, right? So one of those back in those times when I was coming up, most of the opportunities were led in two directions. You worked at Timken's, which was a bearing manufacturing plant. You worked at Anheuser-Busch, which everybody knows about Budweiser, or you drove a little further and you went to work for Honda. Honda of America had a plant in Marysville. So if you were talking about making any really decent type of money without any true education, or I want to say degrees, you're pretty much going to be labeled into one of the what I call the big threes. But again, back there you had that type of mentality where you could work and live pretty meaninglessly. Well, back in 1999, I remember taking a trip to visit one of my friends in Phoenix, Arizona. And I woke up and looked at my ex-wife and I said, you know what? We're not going back. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, we're not going back. We're going to go back to Ohio, go back to Columbus. We're going to sell our house. We're going to sell everything. And we're going to move out here. I wanted my kids to have be well-rounded. I wanted them to be able to be multicultural. I wanted them to be able to compete in a society to where you need to raise your game above where it was. And I felt at that particular place and time in Ohio, that wasn't going to happen. So that was in July. In September of that year, 1999, we had sold everything, sold our house, and I was in a U-Haul truck driving to a city outside of Phoenix called Chandler, Arizona. Lived there, worked in post-secondary education for a while there in Chandler. Actually worked for University of Phoenix. At that time, they were the pioneer on online learning. So I started out in the admissions field, worked my way up to admissions manager, and became a regional trainer. So I went from city to city, state to state, actually sitting in boardrooms or conference rooms, talking to people, and unbeknown to me how that would lead my career path, I was training people. I was training people then on the importance of listening, active listening, the importance of keeping individuals motivated, but more importantly, the importance of seeing people to have a vision, getting to truly understand what could be should they make those types of sacrifices. Things turned south after 12, 13 years, and I got a divorce. But then I met my soulmate. I met the woman of my life. I met my best friend. Over time, you always meet your best friend, whether that's sooner or whether that's later. And for me, it was a little later in my life. No, notice I didn't say older. I said a little later. Again, a little later in my life, right? And we actually met when I was at a conference in Chicago. And at that time, I was living in Arizona. And we continued to talk for months and months. Months turned into years. And she convinced me to potentially looking at taking a transfer opportunity in the DC region. And, man, I haven't looked back. That's been the springboard of my life to start to put me on a path to speaking, to mentoring, to coaching individuals, to basically helping people develop their process.
You mentioned in Columbus, the factory opportunities. Did you have siblings growing up, and when you said one of the things you mentioned on you wanted your kids to have, you know, a well-rounded, I guess, playing field or opportunity to kind of, I guess, experience some things. I can understand what you mean by that. What age were you when you got a chance to see outside of, or when you know, left Columbus or got a chance to see some different things or traveled into, because to get a build up to that, all right, I'm in Phoenix or I don't want to go back, you know. I got a chance to visit Brazil when I was 15, so I kind of already knew I'll be out. I'm originally from Mississippi as well, so I can also relate to what you mean by the factories being a certain opportunity, even though, you know, the dreams are still there. But what's some of the difference in the opportunities that you had growing up and understanding that I want my kids to have these different opportunities than what was either taught to you growing up or, you know, the dreams that was available. And also I can see you were in football, so you had a football dream. That already says travel and do everything except the factory job. So what's the difference? Yeah.
You know, I was raised in that environment. My dad worked at Anheuser-Busch. My uncle worked at I talked about Timkins, the bearing plant. So consequently, you fall in line and you follow the norm. And I did the third. I worked at Honda. I stayed in Columbus, Ohio for 32 years of my life. And it became a great people, great city. That's my home and will always be my home. But I just wanted to experience more. It got to that point to where I said I needed to challenge myself. And I wasn't doing it so much for me. I was doing it to make sure that they had an opportunity to see bigger than what is in that city. I wanted them to have an opportunity to write their own ticket, to be we talked about multicultural opportunities as well. You know, in that society back in again, that was 1999 when I moved. Arizona was a very progressive state. And by I mean progressive, they were taking a lot of opportunities with all minorities. It didn't matter whether you were African American, whether you were Hispanic, whether you were Native American. They basically embraced everybody and said, we're going to give you a shot. We're going to get you educated. We're going to make sure that you are able to compete. And that was one of the reasons or one of the things that drove me. But also in the back of my mind, I needed to grow. I truly needed to grow. I needed to leave a place of comfort. And you'll hear me, I'm sure we'll talk about it shortly. I always say comfort is a casualty of growth. I became too comfortable in that day, that driving that 45 minutes to a factory, working from 4 in the afternoon till 1 o'clock in the morning. Nice money every week, don't get me wrong, but the wear and tear on my body. I had 2 surgeries while I was there. One from utilizing the material or the impact guns and all the things that were there. It just became a time to where I needed to step out and find out who I was. And the only way that I was going to be able to do that was to make that transition. Was I scared? Absolutely. I was scared, but I knew that there was something driving me to make that move, just as something drove me to make that move to the DC region. It was set up for me to embrace it, and something bigger and better was going to come in my life. And those did. A lot of learning, a lot of second guessing, but also no more second guessing at this point in juncture in my life. Everything happened for a reason, and I feel that reason now.
What is it about like the DC area that resonated with you?
I'm going to go back and use that word progression again. There's a lot. To me, it was a lot of opportunity, and a lot of opportunity in within 2 states in the district. Right? You got DC. You got DC's a district. It's not a state,
basically.
yeah, absolutely. So you have Maryland, you have Virginia, which is a stone throws away. But also, I had the opportunity as well to network and talk to individuals in Pennsylvania, which is right down 45 minutes down the street. You can go to New Jersey, New York, which is right around the corner. You're in the midst of where I can go to the south. You know, once you're in Virginia, the next state over is the Carolinas. So it became a multi facet area to where I can get the influx of everything, and also give me an opportunity to take what I dreamed about, which turned into, again, being writing and messaging to another level. More opportunity. It truly gave more opportunity. And again, let me reiterate, because she'll see this as well. My wife.
Happy wife, happy life.
And you know it.
Yeah. What was the culture shock when you went from Arizona to DC? Or for us, we lived in Atlanta for a while. That's where we met, and we lived in the DMV area, right there. For the listeners, DC, Maryland, Virginia, Virginia, then Virginia 1 year, DC 1 year, then back to Virginia 1 year, and it's just different. DC, the inside that circle, getting off the train, the stuff you see is just a different energy. We're in LA. They have a homeless population. So I definitely feel like the universe warmed us up with DC to when we get over to LA. And we're in downtown LA. So it's another level. It's just a more mixed pool. How did that, sit with you when you first got to DC? Was it a surprise, or is it similar in Arizona where you were, or?
It was totally different.
Okay.
Totally different. The culture in Arizona is the majority of the residents are transients, and by meaning transients, they are from someplace. Very rarely do you find somebody that was born and raised in the state of Arizona. Most of those people come from the East Coast or come from the South, and they take up residence. And then we all know that, Arizona is one of the huge populations. They call them snowbirds, with individuals who would come down there and live in, from October through January, February, till it gets hot. And then they would go back to the East Coast, Midwest, or wherever they need to go. So coming from Arizona, where everything was pretty much laid back, pretty much relaxed atmosphere, to the East Coast, DMV, that's total culture change. I was okay with it because I am an energetic type person anyway, but it's a truly different mentality. It is now. I need it now. I want it now. We need to get to that now. I need to answer for that now. And, I a lot of times I have to reel myself back in, because, we all say we become creatures of our own environment. So sometimes when I'm dealing with certain things or speaking with individuals in the workplace, I kind of Mark, slow down for a minute. You need to pull yourself back, because you're being just like that. And that's not who you are. So, to answer that question, man, it shocked me. I remember, I was always told that when you walk the streets of DC, you walk with purpose. You don't walk around like with your head up in the air, looking like you from a different planet. You walk with purpose. You go where you're going, and you keep your head on a swivel, because again, it is a unique environment. And that little square, or that little circle is truly a different environment. And again, you're right. It's a different mentality from DC to Virginia, from Virginia to Maryland. They're all truly different mentalities all the way around.
Yeah. The vibration was a little different when we were there. It was something different, I guess, coming from Atlanta. Atlanta was full of a lot of energy with, creativity and things like that. And it was just kind of one of the differences, that when you're going from a place, Atlanta, where everybody's superstar and video, and, from talent, everything's talent and a lot of things. And then you go to a place like DC, and it was, for us, or at least in that area, I didn't get, it's very corporate. I guess it's a very corporate energy there.
Government.
So right.
A lot of government related
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah. And it really, it resonated throughout the whole little area, and it had a certain energy, but it just wasn't a creative energy, and wasn't a ambitious energy that I felt that, at least it couldn't supply us the way we felt. That's one of the reasons why we were like, all right, let's shift energies all the way out to a completely different area. And wife as well, another wife decision. That's time to go. Let's go. All right, I'm ready. you know.
One of the things that I always tell people here, again, because I spent so much time, 13 years on the West Coast, going from from Arizona to California to Vegas to all those, everybody here, DC, 12 square, or excuse me, 6 square miles, 6 to 8 square miles. And they talk about how it takes along for traffic, hour to hour and a half, hour, 15 minutes to get 13, 14 miles. I used to tell them all the time, you haven't seen LA traffic. If you want some traffic, you talk about this is a baby. Get on 5. Talk to me. Get on 10 and talk to me. And then come back and talk to me about traffic. So yeah, I go banter back and forth when people here talk about traffic. I'm like, you ain't seen traffic.
With you saying traffic, you notice bumpers, the bumper guards? Do you notice people have a lot of those there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that something you ever notice in other places?
No. And you notice about one out of every, I think we talked about it at another time, and a few weeks ago, 1 out of every 7 cars are scratched, have a scratch. 1 out of every 7 cars has a scratch. Somebody has bumped them, scratched it, dinged it. I don't care what kind of car you got. It's getting scratched up in here because folks have that go mentality.
Why do you think the people here, like you said, the traffic is crazy here? The traffic is crazy in Atlanta. But people don't have bumper guards. Bumper guards are selling in that area. But they're not selling like in the South where there's terrible traffic. They're not selling in downtown. I've never seen any. I drove Uber for a year and a half here. I've never seen anybody with bumper guards.
I have no idea. Here, again, it's
maybe it has to do with the ice.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know about that. I would just say it's more, it could be, you could say they're progressive. You could say that they're try to be a little bit more vigilant of their vehicles. Maybe they want to, maybe the trade-in value is the trade-in value definitely is different on the West Coast and the South because cars are getting eat up. It's snow and inclement weather, that they're definitely getting eat up. So trade-in value could have something to do with it. So if you can keep that bumper guard on it and can hold the car as long as you can, then hey, that resale value might help you out a little bit.
I know they also once did a study on people falling asleep while driving. It was at a pretty high rate, and that was something that was happening. I guess because of lifestyle. And I know that they even say even in LA, a lot of people, if you're born and raised in LA, you probably spend a lot of your time in traffic or a lot of your life in traffic.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I really can imagine.
So quality of life is very important.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what you make out of it. I always, and that's what I write about when I talk about the process, is I talk about how we take these things and we go to that state of what it truly means. And oftentimes we don't truly assess what we go through and assess the situation, not problem, assess the situation for what it's worth and try to pull something of positivity out of it. And it's so important that we step back for a minute and say, whether I'm in traffic, I used to hate traffic. Guess what? Having an opportunity to be in traffic now gives me an opportunity to sit back for a minute and reassess my thoughts. I'm always trying to do a self-evaluation or self-check to see, is there anything that I can do to help change the course of trajectory, not only internally for myself, but for those that I come in contact with. So it takes on a whole new different meaning now than what it used to, which is why I'm writing the series now. If I only knew then what I know now.
How often should people take the time to self-reflect and kind of just go and really look at certain things? Or should it be a certain situation, a certain high, a certain low, or is there just a nice schedule to have where you feel a person
I do
should?
it. I do it every night. I do it every night before I rest my head. I go back and ask myself simply 4 questions. I say, number 1, was I impeccable to my word today? Don Ruiz's 4 agreements. Was I impeccable to my word today? Meaning, did I promise somebody something and did I carry it out? Or did I offer them a solution for that if I didn't? Number 2, did I take things personally? because I have a lot of interaction with a lot of different people, from a lot of different nationalities, from a lot of different mindsets every single day, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's on the stage, those types of things. So I asked myself, did I take things personally? Number 3, did I make assumptions? What did I accurately assess everything that was there, or did I make an assumption about something that I shouldn't have made? And lastly, did I give my best? Did I give my absolute all that whole day to make Mark complete? And if I can check those boxes to each one of those, man, it's a sweet night's sleep. If I can't answer those, or there's one or two of those off, then I know I got work to do. I got work to do that next day to try to make up for that. So to really answer your question as well, the first steps when we wake up in the morning, when we take a look in our mirror, that's when self-assessment starts. Because what we see is what we're going to display. How we feel internally is what our spouses, what our friends, what our coworkers, what everybody we come in contact with, that is what they're going to get. That's what they're going to feel. So I make it a practice to do check myself every single day to make sure I'm on that path to trajectory, not flatline. I'm going forward, or as I say, I'm growing forward.
What are some of the tips that you use to kind of, keep you balanced when things get a little turbulent, or, anxiety?
I have to have that quiet time. I've gotten a lot better, and I'm going to continue to get better. I get up at between 4 and 4:30 every morning. Doesn't matter whether it's 7 days a week, 4:30. And that first few hours, I'm getting myself mentally charged, whether I'm listening to a podcast, whether I'm usually in the gym. 99% of the time I'm in the gym by 4:30, 4:45. I'm blessed to have a full home gym downstairs in my basement. So I'm blessed to have that time. And then I have that quiet time to where I can actually get something and read. I wasn't the type of person who read a lot coming up through high school, again, and wasn't a person that truly read a whole lot when I was in Arizona. But the wiser, not older, the wiser I get, I know there's so much information that I want to surround myself with to make me a better, well-rounded person. So from 4:30 to 7 o'clock, man, I'm locked in. I'm locked in on who Mark is. What does Mark have to do to frame his mindset to get ready? Then from that point on, my day is so structured but I've prepared myself so you can't knock me off my square that day. You can't, because I've got myself together for my morning routines of things that I know from trials and errors that I know is going to keep me right there for whatever I need to tackle for that day.
We're happily married, and we've, like I said, never experienced a divorce. What are some of the things that you learned from your first divorce that basically that's you saying in your new divorce, or I mean not new, your new marriage?
No, let her hear that.
No, your new marriage, like I said, you've got it. This is right. This is, as far as this, the connection is there. It's a soulmate to, what are some of the things that you're talking to people, or if, to an audience that may not know what to look for in certain things for, that you've had the experience to recognize, okay, this wasn't right and this is right. You don't have to share, you don't have to go deep, but just,
I got you. I just
the
think
borderline.
It was a point in my life to where I was truly trying to truly trying to grow, and didn't mean that she was not trying to grow as well. We grew at different paces, and it was the relationship became a toxic relationship. By toxic, I mean there was I experienced a mental abuse. It wasn't physical abuse. It was things that were said on a consistent basis that didn't sit well in my spirit. So it became time that I needed to separate that to get myself from feeling less than, from feeling worthless. A lot of times, we talk about it, and when I do have workshops as well, a lot of times we talk about the mental health portion of things that we all go through. And I didn't seek that mental health portion that I needed at that time. So when I truly, it got to the point to where it was no longer going to work for me because it was so stressful on me. I had turned to alcohol. I had turned to um, uh, staying out all night. All those vices, all those things that could happen did happen in my life. But what changed again is I had to look in my mirror and realize that I'm okay, guy. And God said it was time for me to end that chapter and move to the next chapter. So I was lucky. Again, I found a woman who actually had time to listen. We talked on the phone maybe 6 or 7, about 5 to 7 months before we actually met again. We met at a conference, talked at the conference, stayed in contact 5 to 6 months before we even connected again. She just became, and I would say that for everybody, she became a best friend. Somebody who actually we shared a lot of chemistry. She had gone through a divorce as well. She had children. I had children. We both were looking at the positive outlooks in life, not the negative things that were going on in life. So it became something that it was destined to be. And, over time, we continue to grow and we challenge each other. We challenge each other to be better all the time, and not in a negative way to where, you fell short this time. No, babe, let's reassess our plan. Let's reassess what we said we were going to do, and let's work together and honestly figure out how are we going to get there. So it becomes a true unification. And again, as you evolve in life, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, you find that type of person in your life, and you find that type of individual that can help you move. You help each other move to different levels, and that is something that I encourage everybody to do. Find somebody that can help you. You both help each other move to different levels, and once you do, you hold on and you hold tight, because again, life is short and you never know what might happen.
Thank you for sharing that.
You said earlier, everything happens for a reason. And we believe in that as well. What do you feel like your first marriage, what was that experience supposed to teach you? What did you obviously it happened for a reason for you to get whatever you got out of it in terms. So what do you feel like is that?
The lesson that I learned from it is that you truly have to communicate. Without communication, without honest and open communication, without placing blame, you have nothing. Because once you start doing that, you become selfish, and you can't be selfish inside of a relationship. So I'm going to take ownership and say that I am part of that as well, because it didn't just happen overnight. Certain situations, certain things occurred that allowed me to do it. The thing that happened again is we didn't take the time to truly communicate back and forth to potentially iron it out. Now, if that had not happened, again, she is doing much better with her life right now. I am definitely doing much better with my life. We have 2 wonderful sons out of that marriage, and it just became a part again that you can still grow and be a good person. You can still grow and be better people, and you still can understand that just some people just aren't for you for the rest of your life. That is a reality. And it wasn't like we didn't try. I mean, it's over 20 years before we got divorced. So we were married over 20 years before we got divorced. It just became that point to where I had to reassess. She had to reassess how much of this is truly about us being married, or how much of this is truly about the kids. And if it's about our happiness, then it's time if it's really truly about our happiness, then it's time to let it go and move on, because we both wanted each other to be happy at the end of the day.
What were some of the fears that you had that may have kept? Because I've remember a post from Lil Duval that spoke of couples that are not together, don't live together, but just never got that divorce, never, pushed it to finalize it, to go have that better life. What were the fears, do you think, that, may have kept you, allowed you to hold on? And what are the fears do you think that some of these other men that, like you said, they may be dealing with verbal abuse the same way. Because I can understand what you mean by that. I can reflect in my parents' relationship. They divorced when I was elementary, but the verbal thing is so much, it's a lot stronger than people think.
It's
Because
worse than physical. It's truly worse than physical, because when you
Yeah.
scar the mind and you scar the heart, you can't repair that. You will always go back and remember that. No matter what, you can make up, you can say you forgive, but you never forget. You never forget, and you're on edge for that and waiting for it. That old saying, rocking on ready, sitting on go. You're waiting for it. You're just truly waiting for it to come back up again and to launch you into another level. But to ask me why I stayed, it's a simple answer. I wanted my kids to see their dad not as a failure. And if I go back and look at it, and again, if I only knew then what I know now, if I go back and do those, when we should have divorced many, many years ago, because I wasn't a failure. I was a great dad, great father. I took care. I cooked for them. I coached them in Little League. I did their homework. I took them to school, from school. I was basically mom and dad for a great majority of their life. So I didn't want to potentially lose that relationship with them. And I'm gonna be honest, we as some men don't take care of that responsibility of their children. I wasn't gonna be that dad. I was going to be there for mine. I was going to raise them the best way. I was going to have conversation with them about the importance of being a good father and being a man. So that is what kept me locked in, or kept me not seeking my true happiness, was making sure that they were okay. Was it right? No, because I should have trusted the fact, or trusted the process, and trusted the fact that they would recognize that I'm still a great dad. They would respect me more because they see that you should be able to be happy and can take care of your children. So I sent them a mixed message that I wish I wouldn't have did it, but they're doing what they need to do, and they're grown, and they have their own kids, and I got grandkids that I get to spoil and send them back to them. So I'm okay now. I'm okay now.
And for like some situations, for I guess some men who don't have kids involved to keep them there, but they still, for those relationships that do stay together during those divorces, because I guess those were some of the examples that was on that comments of the post. Like, and I even know some people personally who are, they've caught a hard time, but it was still no kids, but there's still something there that's like, we're gonna hold it out. Is that a fear, or is that a love? Even if it's an abusive relationship, it can't be love.
I think it's I think it's they feel their own self-worth is questioned. Their value, they're devaluing who they are. Because the truth be told, there isn't any person that should be able to take us truly off our square. Now, is that reality? No, it's not reality, but it should be. We should be self-confident in ourselves to know that no matter what it is, I'm going to be okay. And nobody can steal my joy, whether it's my wife, whether it's my mom or dad. I should be the self awareness, the self desire, the self personalization, should be strong enough to where we can hold it on our own. Now, again, that's a perfect world. So to fear that your own self-esteem, that you can't make it by yourself, or you need this person, I think that's something that each individual truly needs to assess. And I would hope that they would find a way to get to that point, to where they can actually find the happiness and peace within, whether that's through therapy, whether that's through counseling sessions, or focus groups, or something of that nature. That's the target needs to be, because there really isn't, honestly, man, there really isn't anybody in this world that really shouldn't focus on being happy all the time. You don't need the dependency of anybody else to do that. You control that. The thoughts you think, the actions you take are in our control. That's it. That is factual.
What are some of the steps you took, like, right, if you can remember right afterwards that helped you build that confidence every time you looked in the mirror, like, okay, this is day 1 afterwards, I'm gonna move forward. This is day 2, I'm gonna move forward. This is day 5, I'm gonna move forward.
Accepting who I was, see, people confuse. I talk a lot about purpose. And a lot of people think or assume that purpose is actually being designed to do something specific, and they confuse purpose with a platform, meaning I am speaking to this to do X, Y, Z. Each person, each individual is purpose. You were created different, you're designed different, you're special in your own way. So I had to go back and realize and accept, you know what? Mark is a darn good guy. Mark is an intelligent guy. There may be so many other people who look better than him, and that's fine. But I have to believe in myself that somebody out there is going to love me for me. I've got a heart and a soul, and I need to express my heart and soul, and don't worry about being hurt again. Don't worry about being told no. Don't worry about being frustrated anymore. I had to take the ownership and realize that every day is going to be a struggle. I'm not going to feel it every day, but you know what? I'm going to put my best foot forward. And when I think I can't, then I'm going to grab a piece of paper and look at it and says, Mark V. Smith is powerful. Mark V. Smith is respected. Mark V. Smith is a king. Mark V. Smith can prosper. Mark V. Smith will prosper. Mark V. Smith will do X, Y, and Z. And read it, post it, look at it. Man, I had a mirror full of stickies. Stickies all across. I mean, you couldn't even see. I had to cut out a little portion up so I could see my face when I wash my face and brush my teeth. But again, just those daily affirmations, man. The feeling of it within, to know that I'm gonna get through this, and I am truly on my way back to being where I need to go. It's a tough road, but you know what? You can get there. Everybody can get there.
Oh yeah.
And days that you don't believe the positive self-talk, like, what are some things you can do to kind of interrupt the negative, because sometimes it doesn't, you don't believe yourself when you say, there are days when you get knocked off balance and you don't,
The self-negative talk.
yeah, like, what are some things that you can do to kind of interrupt that negativity and kind of try to gear that into a positive direction?
Go back and revisit why I'm doing what I'm doing. Go back and visit why I need to move to the next level. Go back and revisit the self-assessment. Go back and ask myself, how truly bad do I want to be successful? Ask myself, how good do I truly believe that I can be? And write that down and look at it and stare at it and understand that feeling that I had of less than self-worth, all those are temporary feelings. Those are going to pass. When I get knocked off my square, guess what? I'm going to get back on that square. All of us collectively have been more on top of our square than off our square. Because I always say that there hasn't been any situation that we haven't come through. It may not worked out the way that we wanted to, but we made it through it. And we made it through it because we continue to push ourselves to make it through it. There's that internal push that nobody needs to touch you, because your purpose, your purpose. Nobody needs to tell you that you need to get better. You know it. Nobody needs to tell you that you're going to make it, they're going to push through, because truly and instinctively, you know you're going to push through. The question is, how bad do you want to push through? And that's where a lot of people, I think, fall in that line and say, woe is me. But really and truthfully, I really learned, family, that the best things in my life were the mistakes and the bad situations that I had, because I learned something. I gained wisdom. I gained knowledge. I gained information that I can share with somebody else that's going through the same thing, or has going to, or guess what? We all are going to go through, that I can try to help them move to the next level and make that window a lot smaller than what it would be if I didn't minister or talk to them about it.
We definitely appreciate the gems that you're sharing with us, and the good energy for our listeners as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did want to talk about your podcast. I'm not sure if it's a book yet. I was reading about it. But tell us a little bit about your series and what's, I guess, what are you doing with that series?
Well, what I've created was a 10. It's going to be a 10 episode or 10-part series entitled "The Process." And what I look back at, and I had to think about through all my life, the learning lessons that I had. And when I looked at it, I said, well, these are all valuable pieces of information, Mark, valuable gems that you can share with everybody. But can you do it in the simple way of just writing something and putting it out there? Would that catch somebody's attention? But more importantly, will it resonate? Will it retain? And then I said, wait a minute. What if I use acronyms? What if I create a series of messages with acronyms inside of it so people could retain it? So I did. I started writing back in late 2018, first part 2019. I started chronicling things about my life. And I thought about, well, for anybody to move to another level, you got to have a foundation. And I thought about the times that I considered, me personally, I consider me being at rock bottom. And rock bottom for me, meaning going through a divorce, turning to alcohol as a crutch, not wanting to go to work, didn't want to even deal with see my kids because I thought my kids would think less of me. So I needed something, or needed to write a message or messages that would help people get through some tough times. So I started with the foundation. And one of the things that I utilized with the foundation is I wrote the very first podcast. I called it Air. And I said, when I write this, I'm going to do something different, dare to be different. So I'm going to add the extra R to it. So instead of AIR, it's AIRR. And that stood for accountability, integrity, responsibility, and respect. That to me is the core of how you take yourself, or a reference point to make sure that you are moving everything in the right way. So accountability, that is something that a lot of people struggle with. I openly talk about in all my messages about some of the things that I've done in my life, from travel to relationships to kids to different events, these types of things. So in that, I diagram how at some point, I had to take ownership of everything that I did. It's on me. All the lies, all the cheating, all the mistakes, all the squandering money, all those things, that's on me. So I had to be accountable for that. Then I talk about the integrity. Man, that's key. You can do integrity is truly doing things that you're supposed to do when nobody's watching, all the time. And so it's not sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. That is the definition of integrity. Being there to help people when you really don't have to, but you're doing it all the time. I ask my wife all the time, well, years ago, I think I know the answer now. I asked her when we first got together, why did you really fall in love with me? What was it that I did different than anybody else? She said, it's the way that you help elderly people. See, I will still, to this day, if I see an elderly person trying to carry bags or carry the groceries, I will stop what I'm doing. I've left her in the parking lot in the rain to stop and go help them and put that in their car. Or I'll be in the store and they're trying to reach. Exactly. I'll reach up. I'll reach up. I see them struggling to reach up something in the store. I'll leave her to the side and I go, ma'am, can I help you get that? So the integrity, that's what it's about. It's about doing it. Next one, and that would have been the responsibility. I spent 32 years in Ohio. I'm still responsible for a lot of the young men and young women whose lives I affected there. The 13 years in Arizona, I'm still responsible for that. I'm still responsible for the individuals in Baltimore, the individuals in DC that I interact with and that I'm on stage or the events that I speak at. I'm responsible for that. That is what I am called to do. I used to say when I was younger, it's not my monkey, not my circus, meaning I ain't got nothing to do with it, but it is my responsibility. And then the last one is respect. We live in a time right now where we don't respect each other. We don't respect their views. We don't respect their outlook. Look, I don't have to care what you do or how you do it, but I owe you the respect to have that conversation. We shake hands, we part as friends, but we don't have to come in contact again. That's my choice. That's your choice. So the foundation of moving forward to create, or what I've created, was that accountability, integrity, responsibility, and respect. Then I moved on to another series that was called The Perfect Storm. I used that to kind of talk a lot about that time, COVID. That was an opportunity where everybody, the playing field was level. Man, nobody, we had nothing but time. So you really had to take a good look at yourself and see where you were at. It forced you to do that. I tell my wife, that's when I love her. We're best friends, but man, we gel. We truly, and we've been married for 6 years now, but we've known each other for 10. But man, over COVID, we gel. I mean, like boom. Because we really took the time to really sit down and listen, not talk. We listened to each other. And that's the same thing with everybody. We had that time, and still for some had that time to make sure you take a look at where you're at. And I wrote a message inside there entitled Growth. And I said, a lot of people question, well, why growth? I said, because every day is a specific opportunity to grow. But don't get it twisted. Growth for me still stands for gradual reminder. Obstacles will test hope. That's growth. That is truly being able to take a look at where you are, things that are going on in your life, the divorce, the drug addiction, anything that anybody has going on in their life. That's the obstacle that will test your hope. And for me, the obstacle equals opportunity, because there's an opportunity to move yourself and move your life to another level. So that series was pretty successful. And then after we came out, or I finished that series, I went to something else. Well, we've got a foundation. We've dealt with the perfect storm. Why not me? Why not me? Why shouldn't I be able to move to different levels? Why shouldn't I be able to express myself and talk to individuals in a certain way? Why don't I deserve the things that I've worked extremely hard for? I'm not talking about being selfish or arrogant or anything like that, but I'm talking about sending a message that where you need to be proud of who you are. You don't need to think you're less than. And again, that was 8 series, which in the process. Then I moved to the next one, which was something that everybody really got a kick out of, is we all guilty of procrastination, the thief of time. So I wrote messages inside there talking about, you know what you're supposed to do. What's holding you back other than you? So you can't blame society. You can't blame your mom, your dad, your spouse. You can't blame anybody. It's you. It's all about you and what you truly need to do. And if you understand why not me, and you understand the premise of you've put in the work, you've gone through the suffering, you've been through different things, then you're still standing. What are you waiting on? And then I'm in series 6 right now, the process, which is called Procrastination, the Thief of Time. And man, this one is this is a true reflection of everything that I think we all go through, and everything that we second guess sometimes. And we truly reflect a lot on some of the positives, more of the positives than anything else that we are. And we don't question where we would be if we'd have listened in. We just harness the fact that we had a chance to learn that lesson. And we truly have a chance to minister or talk to somebody about those lessons of life. So 6 series thus far. There's 8 to 10 messages in each series. It will be 10 series. It will be a book packaged, wrapped, and placed out there as a blueprint for individuals who truly want a resource. I like to say a resource to get through, to go through as they get through. That's the process.
Is that your writing process? You're having it in, using the podcast to kind of formulate your thoughts on it, and then use that to turn it into a book. Okay.
And it's on. Not only do I do it, not only can you find it on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, all of that. I do a radio show on star107fm.com every other week, and I release a new message. So that I'm in my 2nd year of working with them right now, and in talks with another radio station right now that will probably be releasing this as well. So it'll be 2 radio stations plus my podcast. Just sharing a message, plus again, public speaking, sharing a message that we can get through, that everybody has stuff. Everybody has stuff, but stuff doesn't define you. Stuff is stuff. It's that heavy bag. Get rid of that heavy bag. Focus on that light bag, the things that's going to bring you joy, the things that you wake up to, the things that give you that you feel give you the best shot to make it. And the things that always surround you, and the tools to surround yourself with people that's going to keep you uplifted. Not your cage, definitely not your cage, but your circle.
Yeah. Congratulations on your success and with your process and everything that's coming along.
Thank you. It's a blessing. It truly is a blessing.
Before we get ready to close it out, would you like to let our audience know where they can find your information?
Absolutely. They can look up Mark Smith, The Process. I've got YouTube information video out. We just finished shooting a new commercial. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be released on YouTube. Again, you can find all my information, Mark Smith, The Process, on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. Again, my website, theprocessmarksmith.com, and my email is mark@theprocessmarksmith.com. I'm on Instagram under Within Your Process. You can find me on Facebook under Mark V. Smith, The Process, as well as LinkedIn under Mark Smith. So again, I ask everyone to reach out to me. Again, I find passion in helping people believe that they can get through. It's not something that is scripted. It's nothing that is never something that I take advantage of. I truly feel humbled, honored, and blessed to have an opportunity to share information. So we're all called to serve. We truly are. We're called to serve. We're called to help. We're called to be that voice sometimes when somebody really needs it. And at the end of the day, man, it's my job. People can leave people bitter. My goal is to always leave somebody better than they were when they came in, better than they will be the next few minutes. So, and put them on a path to be better tomorrow, because that's what life is truly about, making all of us reach our goals and make all of us better, personally, professionally, and for our families.
Yes. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you again, Mark, for your time and consideration and sharing positive energy with us.
Definitely feel like we've gotten better from talking to you.
Yeah.
You guys come back to the DMV. I need to see you. Dinner's on me.
And the same here.
Here too.
If you're coming to LA,
we have a studio here, so we can do a live recording.
Yeah, come sit in with us and have another recording.
Absolutely. We'll love it.
Yeah. Thank you to our listeners.
And everything Mark has mentioned will be in the description. And for the podcast, you can find us at AmericanGypC.com. You can find consistent self-improvement merch at luamlee.com. And we have music.
Have music under Classic Carpenter, under Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. That's Classic, KLACCIK, CARPENTA. Some instrumentals, cello instrumentals, little vocal work, some nice soothing stuff. Thank you again to our listeners and to our audience. We love you for your support, and we really, really are grateful for all of the positive energy that we receive from our guests as well as our listeners. Thank you again. Consistent self-improvement to everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.